doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
To announce that we're taking our military cooperation to even greater heights by formally designating Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally, which is something that is very important to them. And I'm just telling you now for the first time because I wanted to keep a little secret for tonight. I just heard him say, "Oh, that's nice."
Any reaction to Leader Thune seeing the bill without adding amendments or changing it?
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So is he? Do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president.
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see. I was standing there with the Crown Prince. We couldn't talk.
Are you frustrated in the majority leader? Are you upset with the majority leader?
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
So the president's saying he'll sign it. You don't buy that?
No, I think he'll sign it. I want to be there at the signing party.
Think he'll be invited?
I've never seen somebody not get invited to sign their own bill.
This gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Mr. President. Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. A lot to go through today. We're going to have a bang-up show. We are at the end game. At least we're hopeful we're at the end game in the Ukraine war. We played the Johnny Comes Marching Home song on the Ukraine clips there. Big drone attacks by Russia on Ukraine overnight. We just want the killing to end. We want the suffering to end. We played a lot of that, some of that on the Ukraine Sit Rep with Pete Blaber yesterday. If you missed that show, please check it. And by the way, we'll probably restream that. We didn't get a chance to yesterday just because it wasn't on X because of the problems with Cloudflare and X. We're on X, back on X today. We didn't stream there yesterday because of the problems. You can find the show on Rumble and on YouTube and on Gettr. Want to say hello to the crew in the chat already going. Thank you so much for the engagement. That is what drives everything for us, and we really are appreciative. Check out whatfinger.com, great aggregator site after you check cdm.press. But today you're going to see where we are on election fraud. I've got Mark Finchem with us, a long interview, but really one of the best explanations I've heard of what's going on with our election systems and the machines and the fight against it and what's happening in DOJ. And he really dropped some news that I was unaware of, so I think you'll really enjoy that. And then the second hour, I've got Emmanuele Gomez Santa from Florida, down in South Florida, where they've got more corruption. Florida is just a cesspool. It's just as bad as Georgia in the party and in the local jurisdictions, and we're going to continue to point it out. That's our job at Free Media, is to continue to point out the corruption and all the bad stuff. So today is November 19th. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Here's your mission brief. The Blob finally comes for Zelenskiy. There's a we've said this many times on the show. We think this corruption release is the first shot in a long war to get rid of Zelenskiy out of the party. We think the Blob has finally decided he's got to go out of the government in Ukraine, I should say. And we think there's going to be more coming. There's a secret peace deal between Trump and Russia, allegedly going to be released in a few days. That's really, really, really good news. And there is a witness, Umarov, who was the former defense minister of Ukraine, who got sent to the UK to kind of deal with the admiralty and keep the war going. He's fled to the United States, and we have it from a source that he is cooperating with the FBI. So he's probably going to, put Zelenskiy under the bus. So that's what's going on. We'll continue to report on all that. Representative Joe Wilson of South Carolina, I said in the mission brief, is a lying scumbag. This guy is trying to demean and stop young men in the United States who are tired of this rainbow flag Protestant DEI bullshit. And they're going to the Orthodox Church, and he's coming out against the Orthodox Church, saying it's a Russian intelligence operation. Yes, inside Russia, the Patriarch Kirill worked for the KGB decades ago, but that doesn't mean Orthodox guys in Idaho or other states who are coming to Christ via the Orthodox Church because they want something real and not this Marxist crap that the Protestants are preaching. And the evangelicals are preaching, but real Christianity. So he's going after them. I think he should resign immediately, and I said so, and we'll talk about that on the story. Lindsey Graham is anti-Christian. I'll tell you why. He's going after Lebanon. Fixing the service academies. This is a big deal. What's happening with the service academies is a problem with the instructor corps. We'll dive into that a little bit. And Catholics tell bishops, start building fences. We don't want any more immigration. So a lot happening. Big show today. Mark Finchem will be on this hour after we go through some stories, and then in the second hour we've got Emmanuele Gomez Santa from Florida to give you some really shocking news about what's happening down at the local level in the great state of Florida. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Stay with us on the SCIF.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. We are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be two things. homeopathy and herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can be born short of insulin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods.
So this is what drove you to develop this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I'm going to bring on Mark Finchem in a minute, but I want to run through a few stories. This one, Representative Joe Wilson of South Carolina doesn't want you to know that Ukraine is destroying Christianity in Ukraine, and he should resign. If you go to the GeorgiaRecord.com, this is our Georgia paper, GeorgiaRecord.com. Let me find that one. There it is. This dude has been in Ukraine many times. He's part of the Blob, supporting the corruption, supporting the human trafficking, supporting the war machine, supporting the death, supporting the forever wars, and whoever is behind this. He's a paid operative, and he should just resign and get out of the way, because we're ending this war. We're on our way there, and it's going to be done soon. So what are you going to do then, Joe Wilson? You need to leave. And the fact that you are going after millions of American men and boys who are coming to Christianity through the Russian Orthodox Church in the U.S., which, yes, is technically aligned with the Russian government, but that doesn't mean these young men are Russian agents and part of an intelligence operation. I know a lot of them, and a lot of them are very happy with the continuity that the Orthodox Church brings in all of its forms, the Eastern Church, and the fact that you're trying to harm their faith and harm Christianity's resurgence in the U.S. is just a bunch of crap. So go away, resign, get out of there, and stop pushing the Blob and whoever else you're working for. I mean, you're essentially working for Satan. So move on, Joe. It's time to go. Let's look at this story. Umerov is cooperating with the FBI, who is the former defense minister in Ukraine. This is on our Eastern European site, Tsarism.com, which covers all the former Soviet Union and surrounding territories. We have reporters all over the world. It's our first site we brought up in 2015, and it's got a great following for people who are interested in this area. But the Blob is finally coming for Zelenskiy. Umerov is cooperating with the FBI, we understand, in Miami. And there's a secret peace deal with Russia in the works. But if you go through this article, you can see the corruption that we've been talking about. All of the homes that this guy owns. This is Umerov. Boca Raton, Miami, Manhattan, villas everywhere. Millions and millions and millions of dollars that this guy stole from Ukraine, which is essentially from our aid and European aid. And guess what? Zelenskiy's up to his eyeballs in all this stuff too. So, yeah, okay, this guy's cooperating with the FBI, and maybe that's a good thing that brings down the Zelenskiy regime. But we feel no sympathy for him, and hopefully there'll be accountability across the board and at least lose the assets that he's stolen from the American people. So we'll leave that at that. But we hope the war ends soon and Zelenskiy is gone. Faithful Catholics object to bishop's illegal immigration message. It's time to start building fences, they say. It's on the Connecticut Sentinel, spelled with a C, our Connecticut paper, which we resurrected from the Revolutionary Days, CENTINAL, ConnecticutSentinel.com. And the staff there is just doing a phenomenal job. This paper is having a huge impact in Connecticut. So please, if you're in the region, check it out, ConnecticutSentinel.com. But this is a spot-on article, and it's very national, this story, and that the Catholics, and a lot of them, I'm dealing with Maronite Catholics in Lebanon, they're sick of the message of bringing in immigrants to destroy Christian society. That's what's going on. I was having hope for the new Pope, and maybe he would be a good guy and not a globalist, but it doesn't sound that way, according to this recent comments by the Pope. Pope Leo, I believe is his name. So we agree. Start building fences. It's time to get past this illegal immigration that's destroying Christianity. Another one on the Colorado Free Press. We run to the sound of the guns here at CDM, and we built the Colorado Free Press because Colorado, like Connecticut, like Georgia, like Florida, some of the most infiltrated states by the Blob around. This paper is running gangbusters out there in the Colorado show, which, by the way, Ash Epp has been in court. She's got multiple election challenges in court. They came after her pretty hard. So that's why the Colorado show hasn't been on air recently. But Trump unlocks Alaska's energy potential. And by the way, we'll probably be doing some reporting from Alaska because I spent a lot of time up there. I actually got my engineering master's degree from the University of Alaska, a very good engineering school, by the way. And we're going to be doing some reporting on there, especially if the peace deal with Russia goes through, because we think there's a lot coming in Alaska. So check out this article at coloradofreepress.com. And if you're out west, check out this paper on a regular basis. Help us build the distribution, people that read it, tell people about it, share the links. And if you want to advertise, give us a call. If you want to write, give us a call of what's going on out west or in Colorado or anything you want to write about at CDM. We have an email on the website at the bottom of cdm.press where you can send in submissions, and we're very open to that. So please keep that in mind. Last story. Lindsey Graham goes after Christians in Lebanon, saying that they don't deserve our money because they're not supporting Israel. I mean, that's what he's saying. So, and they're not disarming Hezbollah in the south, according to the U.S. government's liking. Yes, Israel deserves to have its own security, and Israel is right to be concerned about that. But we just don't want to speak up for Turkey or for Israel or for the Kurds. We want the Christians in Lebanon to have a voice, and that's what we're talking about to the Trump administration and putting out on the news. It's a story nobody's talking about, and we need to talk about it. So we're going to continue to do that. You can read this story on cdm.press. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break, and then I've got Mark Finchem. It's a long interview, so we'll run another break now, and we'll be back.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and will all.
Welcome back to the SCIF. We're going to play Mark Finchem now, but I want to give a shout out to Nucleo Boost. This is the package, the powder that it comes in, and these are the capsules. Great stocking stuffer. You can throw these right in the stocking. They'll fit right in. Go to cdmnutrition.com. That's cdmnutrition.com. We use this. It's once a day, either the powder or the capsule. I take the capsules when I travel. I use the powder at home for yogurt, or my wife makes me an amazing smoothie with the Nucleo in it. And you know what? It keeps us going, man. It is the fuel in the engine. And all of us at CDM use it. And we keep going. And if you notice, we put out a lot of content. It's constant. And we're constantly working all night long. We don't get much sleep. We do sleep well, though, on our mypillow.com mattress topper, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Nucleo Boost is one of the secrets of our success. It's our secret sauce. It's developed with Dr. Waterman, who you saw in the previous ad. Please check it out, cdmnutrition.com. Once a day, fill the potholes in your body. And when that disease comes along, you're good to go. So get healthy. That's, if they bring the next pandemic, you want to be healthy. Check out the subscriptions on Nucleo Boost at cdmnutrition.com. It's cheaper. So we're going to run this video now with Mark Finchem, sitting state senator in Arizona, and was former candidate for Secretary of State in Arizona with Kari Lake. He is really informative. I think you're really going to get a lot out of this. So here we go. We are honored to have with us back on the show, State Senator Mark Finchem from Arizona. Mark, thank you for taking the time. I know you're extremely busy.
I'm always excited to talk to you. I mean, I respect your work. I've read your book.
Yeah.
This actually, it's more an honor for me than I think it is for you. I'm just a country boy that's doing what I think my constituents wanted me to do.
Well, I got you on the show because I wanted to talk about FISA. I mean, you've been targeted in Arctic frost, and you were one of the ones surveilled. I guess that was due to your election integrity work. Is that right?
To be honest with you, I don't know why I was targeted, but as I kind of replay everything that happened leading up to the 2020 election, kind of a funny inside baseball story. I wrote a legal memo as part of my master's degree law school project on the proper response of the legislature for an irredeemably compromised election. Now, keep in mind, this is July, August of 2020.
Right.
And as I was putting that together, and I'm going to call him a good friend and colleague, John Eastman took a look at it. Colonel Ivan Ranklin took a look at it. My own attorney, George Wentz, took a look at it, and they're all like, brother, this is brilliant. This is absolutely founded in constitutional principles, and you're 100% correct. So when the fecal hit the rotary oscillator, and I think it was November 5th, 2020, we already knew leading up to the election day that there was a problem because of mail-in ballots. And at the time, Adrian Fontes, who was the Maricopa County recorder, had tried every way but sideways to shove in all kinds of election tampering devices that I'm not going to go into, but it will soon be revealed in a grand jury. Yes, there's one coming. But we held, in response to thousands of letters, emails, phone calls to the legislature, much to the chagrin of the Speaker of the House then, the now disgraced Rusty Bowers, and even to Doug Ducey. He didn't want this hearing to occur. We were denied access to the House, denied resources to the House. So I put it up to a couple of my colleagues, Representative Leo Biasucci, Senator Sonny Borelli. They call us two Italians in a mutt. I'm Scots-Irish, not Italian, so it fits. We decided to respond to our constituents because, after all, they're the ones that hired us, not the Speaker, not the Governor.
Right.
And out of that held a constituent-funded, 100% constituent-funded, 10.5-hour public hearing, I guess you might call it an inquest, into what happened in Maricopa County to the election process in 2020. Now, Mayor Giuliani and Colonel Phil Waldron, probably one of the smartest cyber guys on the planet, came in.
I know Phil, yeah.
Phil's credentials are impeccable. In fact, if it were not so, Brennan and Clapper wouldn't be trying to hunt him down, probably to kill him right now. So we held a great hearing, and while the media vilified that and said, well, this is a nothing burger, there's nothing to see here, which, by the way, that's an immediate tell that there is something to see there. They kind of missed the fact that 15 days later, Senator Eddie Farnsworth from the Arizona Senate issued subpoenas based upon the reasonable suspicion and, in some cases, probable cause that we had generated out of that hearing. That kind of went by quietly, and the next thing you know, Maricopa County supervisor said, oh, well, we'll cooperate. The minute they get the subpoenas, now they lawyer up.
Yeah.
And then the fight started, as they say. A 6-week or 7-week delay on getting the ballots in for actual review. Here's a little teaser. How do you have a legitimate mail-in ballot that's never been folded?
That's a great question.
I'll leave that one for people to ponder, but there were many of them found in the boxes of ballots, which, by the way, had the seals tampered with, broken, and it was very clear that pre-printed ballots had been put in. But, you know, folks are saying, well, why didn't you bring that forward at the time? Well, stop a second. Let's think about that. The new administration had already taken its place. Merrick Garland was already in charge of the DOJ. What exactly do you think would happen to evidence that you bring forward and somebody who speaks out on that? Oh, you mean a guy like me or somebody who had the actual evidence? And I'm not going to give his name because at some point he'll be coming forward in the grand jury. Well, because I raised issue before the election, delivered the legal memo to the Speaker of the House, who decided not to take action on it. I also gave it to Congressman Paul Gosar and Congressman Andy Biggs. The reason I was in D.C., flew in on January 5th, was to hand deliver a packet of evidence that we had pulled together from the hearing and what we knew from the Senate work into their hand for the January 6th meeting that was to be in the House, where every state, their congressmen had the opportunity to present for formal adoption and acceptance the electors from their state. Well, here's the funny part. Several weeks ago, I get a call from my brother. We don't talk very often, but he says, hey, my stepson is taking a class at U of A in political science. I'm like, yeah. He says, in his study packet, there's this legal memo. As soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You mean the discredited document that Scott Pelley attacked me over? That Mark Brnovich attacked and said, no, there's nothing here? By the way, he finally said, yeah, there was something there. Well, that probably is why my name showed up on a FISA warrant, because I posed a threat to the regime. And I'm going to call it a regime because this was a coup d'etat against a sitting American president and the overthrow of the American election system engaged in by those power brokers in the halls of Congress, in the IC, the intelligence community, in the CIA, and you don't have to go very far to hear all of the bad actors because they're already out there as talking heads on all the leftist media outlets. But yeah, now I suppose it makes a lot of sense that they would see me as a threat because I'm one of those guys that just wouldn't sit down and shut up.
So I have to ask you, what, in your view, happened to the Arizona audit? I mean, what went down there?
Well, my good friend Joe Hoft, and he's a Gateway pundit.
Yeah, I know Joe well.
Joe was an auditor for a major auditing house in China for decades, and he observed boxes of ballots that arrived at the Veterans Center to begin the audit, and the seals on the boxes were broken. And he said to me very plainly, he said, Mark, in that moment, the audit should have been over.
Yeah.
The election it's already been irredeemably compromised. Anything that you find it's been tampered with. You can't trust any of it. So while the media tried to claim that there was nothing there, oh, look at how silly this is. We got turntables and people are just looking and they're not doing anything. And the audit is within 100 ballots of the machine count. Okay. They know absolutely nothing, in spite of the fact that Ken Bennett was feeding information to CNN and MSNBC out in the parking lot. He got caught doing it. He claimed that he was the one running the audit, when in fact he was the liaison that Senate President Karen Fann had appointed to be between the audit and the Senate. President Fann was trying to have an arm's length separation so that the Senate didn't have the appearance of controlling the audit. That's why she appointed a liaison. In fact, well, there's a whole story behind that I'm not going to get into.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is there were some observations that were made that were not shared with the media, partly because Mr. Bennett probably didn't know what they were looking for, thankfully. We can talk about it now because in the fullness of time, now it's just a matter of academic record. The paper that the ballots were printed on has a coding. It's called Smart Secure. And as much work as I did on the watermark for Arizona ballots, the individual who told me about Smart Secure paper, he says, Mark, you did great work, but it ultimately ended up being a distraction to help us because people were focused on that and they weren't focused on what was really going on.
Yeah, I remember that.
100% of the ballots that were counted were on Smart Secure paper. So the critical thinkers that are watching this show, how could that possibly be? if we buy into the idea that there were fictitious ballots that were mixed into the system.
Yeah. That were unfolded. Yeah.
It had to be an inside job.
Yeah. Interesting.
So all of this crazy talk about, oh, they flew bags of ballots in from Taiwan. No, they didn't have to. They were local. Okay. And the individual who explained this to me said, I took the time to look at some of the boxes that were sealed. The bottoms did not have seal tags on them. So all you'd have to do is turn the box upside down, split it open, and insert ballots into the bottom of the box. One of the things that this individual observed was at the bottom of so you flip the box over, at the bottom of the box, you open it up, and you see the vast majority of ballots are, they look kind of like this. All right. Let me do a little dog and pony show for you. You see how these papers are all kind of, they're together, but they're not pristine. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now look at the edge of that.
Yeah. Much more.
It's like it just came off a printer.
Mm-hmm.
Just came off a printer, was never folded, yet we're supposed to believe that those ballots were mail-in ballots. So the reason we deduce for the 6 to 7 week delay is they had to go through all the ballots and identify the numbers vote-wise and replace the ones to make the machine count add up.
Mm-hmm.
So in those boxes, you had that many ballots that had obviously just been thrown in there like you would. It's already been voted. Then you've got a stack that obviously just came off a printer and were set in there. And then you got some more disheveled ballots that are in the middle. Okay. Nobody would be the wiser, right?
Yeah.
Except one enterprising gentleman who knows about the process, turns the box over, opens the bottom up because it wasn't sealed with a tamper-proof seal, and finds exactly what he thought he would find.
Interesting.
So you've got smart, secure paper. And by the way, the turnstiles were looking for a light signature off of those ballots. Interestingly enough, you've got a lot of people it was a tripartisan inspection team. You had Democrats, Independents, and Republicans involved in that whole thing. And you got a lot of Democrats and independents coming out of the audit room saying there's no question in my mind that Donald Trump won. Something's wrong with some of these ballots. Don't really know what it is, but something's wrong. Something's wrong. Well, what they were probably picking up on is they saw the difference between folded and unfolded ballots. They were all reviewed.
Yeah, you would see that. Yeah.
They would be the ones to notice that. And quite frankly, when you develop a tactile memory,
mm-hmm.
You've got a ballot that's been folded and gone through the mail, and it's been roughed up a little bit. Then you got a ballot that is pristine. It feels different.
Sure.
And these individuals were handling every single ballot. Okay. Now this also begs the question: why did the Democrat machine spend hundreds of millions of dollars to prevent an audit of the ballots themselves and do a comparison against hand count against machine count? Well, I'll tell you why. There's a case out of Georgia, and I forget the county right now. Woman's running for their state assembly, and she got 0 votes.
It was DeKalb County. I know it well. Yeah.
0 votes. So, excuse me, election board. I know that I voted for myself and my husband voted for me. So there should be at least 2. They ran the ballots through the system again and got the same count. 0 ballots. She says, okay, now I want a hand count.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, she actually won by 4,000 votes?
Yeah, it flipped the race several thousand votes, yes.
Yeah, so whoever had done the programming on that screwed up. Now we know that there's access, in spite of all this technology BS, when you hear the term air gap, that's an imbecile trying to explain why their machine can't be corrupted. You don't need air gap means it's just not plugged into a wall.
Yeah.
So when you have a burst modem, you have Wi-Fi, you have all these things that are built into the motherboard of these machines. They are so easily hacked, you can do it with a cell phone. In fact, that actually happened in a demo in Georgia by
Haldeman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now we know the fraud, the tampering. Fraud's a specific crime, so let's just call it tampering. We know it occurred, but we didn't know what the scope was. Well, actually, we do. You had a simultaneous shift of votes in 6 swing states. I mean, it happened all at the same time. Why? Yeah. Because they panicked. Had they spaced that out over time, nobody would have been the wiser. Now, the question is, what happened in 2024?
That's a good question.
We're pretty sure that the IC, the intelligence community, said there is no way we're going to be able to pull the same cheat. We can stop President Trump in a different way. We can adjust the down ticket races and put people in office like Ruben Gallego, who that election makes absolutely no sense. Oh, he got it just he didn't get 54,000 votes. That just didn't happen. But the machine said he did. Okay, so that's where we're kind of coming back now to this whole question of why are we doing things on a machine when we don't have to? Now, I went on a trade trip to Germany. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the big question. Are we going to get rid of the machines or not? So back to you.
Yeah, so I went on a trade mission to Germany here about 6 weeks ago and witnessed their election process, okay? And it occurred to me, for example, in my legislative district, Congressman Eli Crane is my congressman, and he'll have a Democrat running against him. If we were to sell it, and I think this was a huge mistake. In fact, the folks in Germany validated this for me. Their elections are spaced out over time, so they'll have a municipal election. They'll have an election for Bundestag, election for the Reichstag, election for things they want to put in, a water board thing I shouldn't use that term, I guess, a water distribution board thing that they want to put in front of the voters, okay? Every one of those elections is different. Here, we shove them all together. Yeah. So think about this for just a second. Congressional elections in almost every congressional race in the state of Arizona, if it were a federal ballot only that had 2 names on it, Eli Crane and the challenger, you wouldn't even have to count the damn things. Eli's stack, other guy's stack.
Good point.
Put a micrometer on it because you already know the thickness of the paper that'd tell you plus or minus 1 vote. How many did he get? How many did he get? Election's over. Within an hour, you've got official results because that's all there is in the race. Okay. Now we've recommended President Trump have an executive order prohibiting the use of machines for federal elections. Now he can't do anything with state elections because that's up to the state. But if he were to come out with a national security memo, which I think he has absolute proof and justification for, especially with what DNI Gabbard has put out, the fact these machines cannot be secured. Arkansas idiots notwithstanding, they claim that, we've got secure machines. Well, you're the only ones in the freaking world that have got secure machines. Not securable. In fact, tell you what, how about we have Clint Curtis come in and hack one of your machines in record time?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Clint's one of the guys who, I think he's the first, I think he was the first guy who wrote vote flipping software for a Republican in Florida back in the day. This was like 2002 or 2004. He says, I can tell you how they do it. I can tell you right where it's at. So now we have an election in 2020 and 2022. In 2022, for those who don't know, I was a Republican nominee for Secretary of State, essentially Kari Lake's running mate, because at the time, Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor kind of wrapped into one. Now they've been separated, but Kari and I knew that election was tampered with before the ballots even went out Okay. So you got mail-in ballots that are coming in at a record pace. Then lo and behold, on election day, machines in Republican districts malfunction. You take all the precincts and that are Republican and you create a heat map, and then you look at machine failures and overlay that map one on the other, same map.
Yeah.
Then you go take a look at, and we filed a case in the U.S. Supreme Court. This is probably why I'm on the FISA list, all this stuff. You file a case in the Supreme Court for fraud upon the courts. Maricopa County lied, supervisors lied, recorder lied, election officials lied to the court, claimed that they had tested all the machines. No, they didn't. They actually tested a couple of backup machines and then claimed that they had tested the rest of them. So you have the exact same log errors show up in 2020 as in 2022. They're using a software that was not approved by the Election Assistance Commission, EAC, essentially a Frankenstein software that had been altered. And the machine itself was giving a warning saying, hey, I got a mismatch on the software that I'm expecting versus the software you're using.
So they shouldn't have been certified.
That right there was an irredeemably compromised election both in 2020 and 2022. Those ballots should have been counted by hand, and those that were in the system, same thing. If there are mail-in ballots that had never been folded, they should have been isolated and quarantined, because there's no possible way they were actually legitimate ballots. They were shoved into the system by the election brokers. I'm going to call them power brokers, because they're the people that could not afford. Here's why they didn't want Mark Finchem in that Secretary of State office. Because it was common knowledge that I'd worked out an agreement with Abe Hamadeh, who would have been our Attorney General, that we're going to do an audit of the Arizona election for 2020 and for 2022, because we want to know how accurate are the machines really compared to paper ballots that are counted by hand, period.
Yeah.
We just needed to know, technology being what it is, easily programmed by somebody with nefarious intent, we had to take a look at it. So what did they do? They kept the very people that would have gotten to the bottom of this out of office, so they wouldn't, because here's what would have happened. Had we done that, the jig would have been up for more than one state.
Sure. So where are we on? I mean, I think most of the country was shocked that the courts were so corrupt in the rulings on that, and there was no accountability for an obvious opt to take down the Republican machine or Republican area machines. The judicial corruption's off the charts. Where are we in Arizona on getting clean elections?
Well, let me tee it up by explaining it this way. We are in the midst of a Marxist insurgency that America has been fighting off for more than 2 decades.
Yes, I agree.
And there are a number of predicates that had to happen before we could get where we're at. Remember the stupid photograph of the 2 guys looking at the hanging Chad?
Yeah.
Okay. That was nothing more than a photo op to justify bringing in electronic tabulation. They had mechanical tabulation.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a psyop.
Yeah.
The whole damn thing was a psyop to justify electronic tabulation. So where we're at today, sometimes I don't know which one is my full-time job. As a state senator, I put in probably 45 to 50 hours a week. I'm also the executive director for the Election Fairness Institute. If people want to know more about what we do there, go EFI.org is the name of we're a 501c3. We don't accept government money. We're privately funded. We look at election process. We don't look at candidates, parties, or platforms. We look at the process, okay? Whether it's voter registration records or how an attorney general may not adhere to the law. For example, in Mojave County, Chris Mays, who's the fraudulent AG in Arizona, threatened the county supervisors there, if you guys do a hand count of paper ballots, I'm going to prosecute you because the law says you must use this. Actually, the law says you may use them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in court with that. We're going to the appellate court, probably end up in the Supreme Court. But we also engaged in an examination of where's the money coming from to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And about, I want to say 2.5 years ago, a gentleman came into our orbit who was working at a research project tangential to what we were working on. And ultimately, we ended up hiring Sean Taylor, who is our chief researcher on money laundering and how it may influence public corruption.
Are you looking at like the Act Blue and Win Red, stuff?
So you no doubt have seen the whole Act Blue thing and President Trump coming out saying, I want action taken on this. That's our work product.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
We briefed the president.
We've been working on that too down in Florida, but go ahead.
Yeah. So we briefed the president in by way of a printed document in, I want to say March of 2024. Also briefed Mr. Homan and General Flynn. That was refined and we got it to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Director Patel. There is now a group. I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but there is a group that is working that, a task force that has been put together. And we were told that our estimate of $1.6 trillion is off by a factor of 2.5 to 3.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
So what's the money doing? So we wanted to know, okay, where's the money coming for Fani Willis and Letitia James and all of these individuals who are, 215, 214 cases brought against President Trump? Where's the money coming from? Well, when you take a step back and you ask the question, who has an interest in destabilizing the U.S. government? Just about every despot on the planet.
Yeah.
The CCP, because the original theory that we were working on was this is drug cartel money that's coming in through Tennessee, Florida, Arizona. And by the way, the central point of this entire operation is Scottsdale, Arizona. What we believe is an automated server farm that handles these transactions. And we've had so many interviews now, it's in the wind. But the money laundering of a large part of it is using the what we call a magic mortgage. Okay, this is how it works. Anybody who's bought a house knows that when you find the house you like, you write a contract, you write a deposit, $2,500, you open escrow, title company pulls an Alta report. The bank funds the loan, you go to closing, you get the keys, the seller gets the money, and everybody's happy as a clam. What was happening is you have and these are fake numbers, but you have a house, let's say in Glastonbury, Connecticut, which is one of them, $250,000 home. The loan is funded by, make up the name bank, North America. Could be Chase, could be Wells Fargo, whoever. They close escrow, but on the exact same day, there's a second sale that the new owner sells to himself for $250 million. $250,000, $250 million. It opens escrow, goes through escrow. It's funded by a third-party wire, not a bank. There's no notation of a bank in the record. Third-party wire. Escrow closes and the money goes. Where'd that money go?
Where did it go?
Well, the IRS Criminal Division is really interested in that one. And we have hundreds of those that we're able to pretty much track down and identify the individuals.
Wow.
So between the IRS, DOJ, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, there are individuals now, and we're just starting to see how the money was distributed. But because the Election Fairness Institute is a private organization, we aren't allowed to use FinCEN, which is a federal money tracking, money laundering software platform. So we can't see where the money's coming from. We can't see where the money's going, but we can see that the money arrived and the money left. And it went through escrow, okay? They were using a vulnerability, if you will, in the escrow system to shoot that money through to whoever, Arabella, ActBlue. I'm pretty sure that some of it made its way into WinRed. The point is, so James O'Keefe did some fantastic work on smurfing.
Yeah.
How do they distribute the money? Well, you get these donors, because ActBlue and WinRed, they're platforms that gather information. They're building a database of individuals who have made contributions, whether it's a contribution for $1 or the max. I think congressional max is what, $2,500. Well, they want the lower donors because that's how they can avoid campaign finance law. And I think James interviewed, one of his people interviewed, knock, the gal that's living in a trailer and says, hey, did you give $2,500 to a candidate? And the response is, take a look around you, young man. Does it look like I can afford to give $2,500 away to a campaign? And that ends up being, as we looked at it, we've got candidates all over the country who have received identical contributions from the same individual on the same day.
Yeah, that's been exposed.
It's
but
how they spread the money.
Do you think the federal government is looking at that? Because it's been pretty quiet. We've been screaming about it for 2 years.
Guarantee you.
Okay.
I guarantee you they're looking at it.
So where did the big money come from in your estimation?
Well, it's coming through Canadian banks. So TD Bank, at the beginning of the Trump administration, negotiated at the end of the Biden administration, negotiated a penalty a fine with DOJ. I think it was $1.2 or $1.6 billion for money laundering. That was to tie off an open case. They're still doing it. The money's still coming in. So where's the money going to? It's not just going to political campaigns. So Arabella Advisors and all the NGOs that USAID was getting money, well, they were getting money from this stuff too. We were trying to figure out, where did all the money come from in the closing days of the 2022 election that just blew into Arizona to come against Carrie and me? Well, we got our answer now. It came from foreign intervention that wanted to make sure that we did not touch the election system because it would have upset the apple cart for the entire country. So now where we're at, and you'll notice that Eric Swalwell indicted for mortgage fraud. Shifty Schiff probably going to be indicted for mortgage fraud. Letitia James. This is not the matter of just, oh, well, I made a mistake and I checked a box. No, you fraudulently promoted that you had the wealth, you lied on an application for a mortgage.
Yeah.
And then there were some follow-on exercises. Now, here's the other thing that happened. We fortunately took screenshot because we do use LexisNexis. I'm sorry, LexisNexis. It's been a long day. When you see, and what LexisNexis does is flags changes in public records. So we would take a screenshot of what we find for a particular individual, a person of interest, October 1st. The end of November, suddenly that entire screenshot is gone. The public record disappeared, gone. They were trying to cover their tracks because they knew that we were now looking at how they were accomplishing the mortgage fraud. So, funny thing about that, it pointed to what we now know is a ring of assessors. I mean, think about this. You got a county supervisor. Suddenly you have a mortgage that happens in his jurisdiction for $250 million for a piece of property. You don't think that guy's going to want to attach that for tax revenue? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yet it evaporates from the system. Where to go? So that is what we are working with the federal law enforcement apparatus. And these are Boy Scouts. These are the good guys. We're pretty confident that the money is coming in either from the CCP or Iran or some other bad actor that wants to see destabilization of the American political system. And this is, by all descriptions, this is a Marxist insurgency that has gone deep into the apparatus of the federal, state, and local governments. Every branch. You want to know why we've got crooked judges? This is why. You want to know why judges aren't hearing cases? It's not because we don't have standing. It's because they're on somebody's payroll.
We're fighting that
Now,
across the
I'm
country
sure
and
that-
other states. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at this jackass that signed, you look at this jerk that signed off on the FISA warrant for me, Boseberg. Familiar name, huh?
Yeah. Very.
That's the same guy that went after President Trump. So much for an unbiased opinion. By the way, wasn't that supposed to be out of the Patriot Act, attacking foreign nationals who were a threat to the country? So I'm with with Representative Paul Gosar. The Patriot Act needs to be 100% repealed, and it can't happen fast enough.
Because it's
this
only
is
being
not
used
to
against
protect
the
the American
Americans.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is, it's not to protect the American people. That's how it was sold. That's how it was sold. But it was brought in to not only surveil, but act against the American people. Because it's I've said this before, and people call me crazy, but it's not the American people that they're afraid of. It's our Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as that Constitution exists, we are a threat to world domination by the Marxist insurgency.
That's some clear insight, Mark. I think you're spot on there. So this is, that's optimistic because we've been fighting in the trenches in Georgia and Florida against a lot of this. But what you said really makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad you brought that out. Maybe you've said it a lot elsewhere, but I hadn't heard all of that put together as you just did. That's extremely interesting.
It's sometimes, I told one of my closest friends, I wish I could unknow some of the stuff that I've been, I guess, privileged to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, the vast majority of the American people, God, I sound like such a cynic. They think we're the home of the brave and the free.
Yeah.
I wish that were the case, but we're the home of the people that have given up great blood and treasure to support something that has turned into a Frankenstein government where it's every man for himself, people who are willing to sell their soul for 40 pieces of silver. And I don't understand it. I spent the vast majority of my career in public service, 18 and a half of my 21 years in Kalamazoo, enforcing the law fairly. In fact, I probably gave warnings 2-to-1 on speeding tickets. I didn't like writing tickets. Yeah, I could write as many as I wanted to, but that's a cash register. That's not really getting people to slow down. So, you've got soldiers, and I know, my good friend Boone Cutler, who just recently passed away. He went to war to protect the ideal of the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now, we got a hell of a lot of people that are brave, but I would argue that none of us is free.
I would agree, and that's the fight we got going on. And the people that still are willing to fight and have courage still have to be in the game. And I think that's the message going forward.
Well, and that's why my hat's off to you. In fact, my favorite T-shirt. You've had just a little too much to think, I believe. Yeah, I mean, and here's one of the things. My trip to Germany was really interesting. When I was in Berlin, I happened to be there on Reunification Day, when they celebrate the fall of the wall, when East and West came back together for one Germany. They actually have a public politics department dedicated to seeing to it that Nazism never gains a foothold again in government.
Yeah.
So what's their approach? You're going to find this crazy. How about we just teach civics?
Something we don't do anymore. I remember well.
Yeah.
I remember Coach Kelly in my high school teaching physics.
Well, I remember, when I was in high school, 1975, in 74, we had civics. 75, we had social studies.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the line coach for the football team, Bill Johnston, later married into the Stryker family. I think he's probably passed away now, so I can talk about him. Rabid lefty. Hated President Nixon, who, by the way, was framed and was not as bad a president as they left his made him out to be.
Of course.
But they don't teach the operations of government. In fact, I'm thankful that today we've got like the Patriot Academy. In fact, I got a meeting here in about 15 minutes to talk about Patriot Academy and advancing constitutional civics in Arizona classrooms.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and Ira. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. Welcome back to the SCIF. Hope you enjoyed Mark Finchem. Great guy and great information. I thought the layout he did of what's happening against the election fraud was pretty phenomenal. So we're going to play that again on our information operation show later in the week. We'll stream that out so you can see it again if you missed it. Real quick, if you haven't done so yet, please go to my.cdm.press, my.cdm.press. Sign up for our no ad subscriptions. You get access to all of our content with no ads. We're putting out a lot of content, and it's growing. We have people all around the world. I'm on the phone with the Netherlands, Ukraine, Poland, Moldova, all of it in the morning early. And we have a lot of content coming. So please check that out and help us out, because it gives us, revenue every month that we can count on. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. A lot of people just pay the 100, get it out of the way. So my.cdm.press and check that out. I've got Emmanuele Gomez from the great state of Florida, down in Monroe County, down in Key West area. So I'm going to bring him in and talk about what's going on down there. Manny, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, Todd. Good to be here.
You have a story, and I have to admit, I don't know all the ins and outs. So tell us what's going on down there. And I have videos queued up when you're ready.
So what's going on in Monroe County? It's first of all, they have this notion that they are separate from the rest of the United States, right? They think they're their own entity, their own country. And that leads to a lot of corruption, a lot of things going on down there. And if you haven't heard, within the last year, the FBI went down to City Hall and picked up a lot of people for corruption, including some of their attorneys, city attorneys and whatnot. But that's how they operate in the entire Monroe County for the most part, right? I'm not saying that it's everybody, but for the most part, you find that a lot there, because they like to do, like they call it, keep it in-house, keep it conks, but they call themselves. Mm-hmm. And that leads to a lot of favoritism, a lot of inside deals, and unfortunately also a lot of hiring of unethical people and personnel that are not qualified per se to do the jobs. I worked at the Monroe County School District there, overseeing about 8,000 students plus, about 10 schools and 8 charter schools when it came to the food service operations. I was the director of food and nutrition. And one of the things that after 5 months, I left my position there because I just couldn't deal with the lack of urgency, transparency, and most importantly, the toxic environment, the waste, and lack of accountability. For an example, they built a $20 million baseball park. I mean, $20 million. This is not even MLB, and they went and did a $20 million baseball park, which, by the way, phenomenal, beautiful. They have the MLB grass, the whole 9 yards, right? But at $20 million, because the person in charge did not listen to the experts when they said, look, you're going to have a drainage problem. If you ever been to the Florida Keys, you know that the Florida Keys, half an inch of rain and it's like 2 feet of water. Yeah, it floods very bad, right? So they didn't adhere to those warnings, and now they're overspending to get those things corrected. Schools are in decay. Just had a friend that.
So the question is, whose buddy has a contracting firm that builds baseball parks?
Exactly. So another thing that they do down there, they have like an example, Topino, who does the roads and a lot of the construction down there. They have, I think it's Bella Construction. They have all these Star Key Constructions. So they have these favorite companies, right? Because everybody from the outside know and understand that if you come to the Florida Keys, there's going to be some finessing there to get contracts. I just had a meeting with a representative from Pepsi, a franchise of Pepsi down in the Keys. And just for them to put a warehouse to be able to store their new products and more products, because they're growing, they were asked for, I think it was almost $500,000, if I'm not mistaken, just to be able to do that, or to put help the city in putting affordable housing. I mean,
so that would be a donation to the city, or what?
So I'm not sure if it was a donation, if it was going to be a donation to the city, but that's how they operate. Either you do this or we won't push forward your licenses and whatnot. They take forever to do any licensing. And that's how they got into one of the problems. They got into this mess with the former licensing person. He would deny licenses to whoever who didn't pay for play. Also, he would do fixer-uppers at his house, violating codes and signing off on his own licenses and certificates. So that is how it operates down there, unfortunately, right? I've been begging for the state of Florida to go and continue to put pressure on them, especially in the Monroe County School District, because that's where I'm more acquainted with, because I was there for those 5 months. Prior to me taking over, it was they came from the 2019, 2021, 22 COVID era. And of course, as everybody knows, they had an influx of millions of dollars to be able to feed the children, to be able to do upgrades to the locations, anything and everything they needed to do in order to help the community. So they went ahead and started giving free lunches to the students and families, which is fantastic, would have done the same. But they never took the time to educate the community that prices for lunch and breakfast was going to go up after the COVID money expired. And they never went ahead and did a survey of the facilities of the kitchens to see how they would have to spend this money, the spend down. Now, I want to clarify, I have never said and will never say that they have mishandled or misappropriated funds or anything like that, because the accountant that worked directly for me, she was an ace when it came to the numbers. I mean, she was phenomenal with the numbers, and we made sure that our department was good to go. They just finished an audit and came out very well. But what I'm trying to point out to the community in Monroe County is that they need to start standing up. This issue with this baseball park that's costing them millions of dollars. Now they want to put a museum in a baseball park in Isla Morada. For what?
Yeah.
Why do you need a museum in a place where you have some museums and people barely go to them? Tourists barely go to them, right? So let's take that money and put it into a fund where we can assist the students that can't pay for their meals in the schools and try to pay out those balances at the end of the year, versus having this mentality where the rich and the powerful will bail the district out every year. They bail out the district for a tune of, like, last year it was like $50,000. Still, we had a $20,000 to $30,000 deficit because nobody else came to bail us out. So the district has to make us whole and write a check, right? So not only do they fail in those areas, why did every time I try to talk to executives or I tried to reach out to personnel that can make a change, that I can educate the educator and letting them know how the operations through the USDA and the food operations work, why we can do certain activities without a bidding process, or certain activities, as nice as they may be, without cost, that has an effect in the cost. I was always barred from doing that. I had to do it behind my supervisor's back, which I don't like to do. It hindered my position and my ability to do my job effectively. So we had employees that were doing extra work, and my supervisor would directly tell me, we're not going to pay them the extra money. Don't say anything. Keep it quiet. He would tell me, when I brought up the attention of one of my right-hand employees, we owed her $3,000. I'm sorry, $6,000, give or take. We paid her $3,000. And then finance came and said, oh, we're not going to even entertain that. My supervisor comes and says, oh, we're not going to pay that. I would have never paid the other $3,000. I'm like, well, you're legally responsible because we have to pay what's owed. If you bump people up from tiers and you're saying no, and you continue to do this trend of behavior, pattern of behavior, we're going to get in trouble one day. And when I took over the position of director of food services, I had employees come to my office with stacks of documents, of papers, emails about the former prior director, belittling them, humiliating them in front of people, So many things that were happening there. The former director utilizing personal school spaces to fill them up with personal furniture and items and stuff like that. Just a bunch of unethical things that were happening. But the most important thing for me is the waste of money. I keep coming back to this $25,000 pallet that sits in a warehouse full of industrial thermometers that the prior director had purchased for no reason. These are thermometers that are used at factories, at food processing plants, with personnel that are preventive control quality individuals like myself. We have PCQI certifications, HACCP certifications that we know how to train and have teams utilize this. It's been sitting there for a year, $25K just sitting there. And when I brought that up, it was just brushed off. When I brought up, and the accountant had been bringing up the that we were going to run out of money, she was brushed off, told that her opinions didn't matter. And I quote, that's
what's the payoff for these people? I mean, what are they getting out of all this?
So because they keep everything so quiet, who knows, right? These executives, not all, but these executives, either they're afraid of doing the right thing, they're afraid of making mistakes and being held accountable. Like Patrick Lafleur, his name, he's the executive of operations there, executive director of operations, was my supervisor. Any email you sent out, any communication, anytime you did anything, you had to CC him on the emails so that he can screen your emails and see if it was he deemed it okay for you to send it to other parties, or he would take over, then twist what you were saying in another way. I'm pretty sure that he's just afraid to be held accountable, because for the last 10, 12 years that he's been in the district, he has constantly failed in his duties, fiduciary duties, to oversee these directors, like the director of food service prior to me, spending all this money, taking managers to trips for conferences. These are conferences for vendors, for directors to go alone, not take a whole slew of managers to basically vacation for 3 days at the expense of the taxpayers, right? They go to these conferences. It costs $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to take everybody there. And the crazy waste of money, not going into the cafeterias and knowing exactly what type of equipment you need for those cafeterias. Look, these are schools. These are not university level. These are K through 12. This is not colleges where I've been to, like Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, where they have actual buffets and executive chefs. These are cafeterias where they don't even cook. Everything is heated and served, which adds another 30% cost to the food, because all we're doing is heating and serving, because they don't take the time to train the personnel. So we're spitting out money day in and day out, making sure that we don't send money back to the county. An example, the Sheriff's Department, Monroe County, they do a phenomenal job there. Every single year, they send millions of dollars back in unspent funds to Monroe County, to the county. Why can't the school district do that? Well, I'll tell you why. The waste of money, the inflated salaries, the money they give employees, teachers, directors, managers for having a certification that is required by law to have. An example, we were paying $2,400 per manager just to have a Serve Safe certificate. This certificate doesn't cost more than $300-$400, if that, probably less than that, to take the class. And as a matter of fact, we just paid 2 managers to take the class, and the proctor charged me $50 or $100 per person. So that's $200, but I'm paying these individuals $2,400 every month on top of their salary for these certifications. How about we actually send them to get certified on HACCP controls, GFSI, PCQI, actual food safety certifications in real classes where they can learn how to be professionals versus glorified cooks, and then we can pay them the stipend, right? But this location pays for everything. They just hired a teacher the other day with no credentials, with no degree, and they just turned around and had to fire him because they didn't do their due process. So it's not only a financial issue, it's an HR also nightmare.
It sounds like a real mess down there. I've got a few videos here. I only got a few minutes left, but which one do you want me to play?
Oh, we can play the one of the male teacher.
Well, I'm not sure which is what.
It's like it probably went in double.
Well, I'll just play the first one if it's not.
Yeah, just play one.
What the hell? Man, there's a runner. He's fighting a girl. Stop that shit.
So that's a fight, obviously. Is that the one you were wanted?
So that's fine. That's one right there. The teacher involved in this particular fight, this male beating up on this female. Mm-hmm. This is an occurrence that happens in any school. However, the accountability, nobody was held accountable for this. The other video that involves the same teacher is this teacher basically saying, you know, we have felons in this classrooms. Some of you have crack whore mothers. Some of you are drug addicts. You know, speaking to the children like that, to these high school students like that, creates animosity, creates violence, misbehaviors. This is not how you're supposed to treat these children. This has been reported, and nothing is done about it. Nobody was held accountable.
Let me play some of the others here and see. Is this one?
There are kids in this class who are felons. There are kids in this class who are felons, living in cars. Father's arrested. Mom's a crack whore.
So there you go.
And, you know, it doesn't speak to all of the teachers in Monroe County, because there are some excellent teachers there that'll do anything and everything for these children, right? And but we have these. The last video I had sent is a teacher basically calling out a student saying, "Are you basically a homosexual? Are you?"
I can play that one. Let me get that one out. Here we go.
Which one are you? Are you a thief, or do you want a man to have sex with you?
All right, so we heard that. So
are you a thief, or do you want a man to have sex with you?
Mm-hmm.
She's calling out a male student because he had his pants a little below his waistline, and instead of coaching and mentoring him and sitting him down and telling him, hey, you know what, let me talk to you, what a gentleman, you know, we think should look like, or carry yourself as a gentleman. She's belittling this student in front of everybody, embarrassing this student. And then they want to worry about suicide rates. They want to worry about students dropping out of school. But this is the type of behavior some of these teachers have represented at this county. And again, no accountability, a slap in the hand, nothing. The other, not too long ago, the unfortunate Charlie Kirk incident, we had a teacher speak ill about this incident and basically say it was warranted. And the Department of Education came down and started investigating this. What's going to happen with that, I don't know. But the district itself has not shown any evidence of them taking action against this teacher. And this is a systemic problem in the Florida Keys, especially at the school district. They're slow to get anything done. They push everything under the rug, and then they spin the narrative, of course, to their benefit so that they don't look bad. But inside the schools, the teachers, the counselors, the employees, they all know what's going on. They all know the executives hate each other, backstab each other. The hallways are infested with gossip. It is a horrible place to work when it comes to the executive level. I commend the teachers that continue to do it. I was not going to be part of the status quo and not be allowed to speak out and make sure that the American people, the taxpayer, know where their money is going, how it's wasted, and how they don't have accountability in that agency. And I want to commend Mindy Kahn, the former chair of the board of the school district in Monroe County, because yesterday at their meeting, she made a commitment on camera that she would not vote on any project that's millions of dollars without her basically digging into how we're spending that money. Because what has happened in the past for decades, and we're talking about 20, 30 years, is, oh, we like that, it's pretty, it looks great, approved. Yeah. No, we have to make sure that we know what's being approved, what's the cost, and just because it looks pretty and the community wants it to look pretty does not mean that it's sustainable. And
so
we have
I've got to run here and take a break, but glad you came on. We'll have you back down the road. Where do people follow what you're doing? Is there anywhere they can follow you? And
so they can go to Substack right there. I have my videos on there. Ted Lund at substock.com, Ted Lund 1 at substock.com. They can go there and they can see my other videos. They can see my actual resignation letter there and everything else, and follow for more information there, because I'm going to continue to speak out until they take making conscious effort to fix those problems.
Well, the education system is obviously really broken across the country, but this is just an example on the inside. Thank you, Manny. Really appreciate you coming on, man. All right, take care.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
The bird flu is circulating. We're getting more and more press, more fear mongering, more warnings about this. First, let's start with that. What say you on?
Well, what I say is it specifically is not circulating. It's in animals. There's one human, maybe two transmissions, no human-to-human transmission. And stand by, everybody. If there is some sort of sudden human-to-human transmission, you should immediately be suspicious that gain of function was involved with that. Just the fact that they're taking an animal virus and going nuts on it in the press and talking about it all the time, that to me leads me to believe that they have concerns that somebody is doing something with that virus, because this would not happen naturally, in my opinion.
Our world is changing rapidly. Many crucial systems we depend upon are collapsing. And the most important system that is failing is the food supply.
Mr. President, this Council is more than aware of the multiple challenges and threats the world is facing today. But the threat of famine, people starving slowly to death, must be a red line.
These food prices are going to keep going up and up, and they're going to keep feeding excuse after excuse, narrative after narrative.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get off that treadmill and start getting more autonomous with your own food growing.
You want to make sure that you can eat, because frankly, food is the biggest issue as we are going through these transitions.
But amidst the chaos, there is a path to resilience. Marjorie Wildcraft is the female leader of the survival and preparedness movement. Marjorie has taught millions of people how to grow an abundance of food in a grid-down situation, even if you have no experience, are older, or out of shape.
I've spent decades finding the fastest, easiest, and funnest ways for the average person to be able to grow a lot of food. I've created a step-by-step process that's so simple that even kids to elders have been using it in order to grow a lot of their own food. And you can too, even if you have no experience, you're older, or you're out of shape.
Growing your own food is like printing your own money. Get started today.
Welcome back to the SCIF. You know that stubborn ache that never quite goes away, that one that ice, heat, or pain pills barely touches? What if you could target at the cellular level that ache instead of just numbing it? That's exactly what TheraBlue was designed to do by the wellness company. TheraBlue is a next-generation pain-relieving peptide that gets to work deeper than the skin's surface. Powered by AQA, Aqua Molecular Delivery Technology, it delivers peptides and botanicals directly into the muscle for legit lasting relief. Its hero ingredient is copper peptide, promotes collagen synthesis, reduces inflammation, and helps accelerate repair. NAD Plus restores cellular energy to aid recovery, while methylene blue protects your mitochondria and supports endurance. Natural extracts like MSM, turmeric, white willow bark, amica, and ginger soothe inflammation, while menthol, camphor, and eucalyptus oil deliver instant cooling relief. It absorbs fast and leaves your skin refreshed, not greasy. Apply a thin layer massage until absorbed and let your body experience lasting recovery. Get 10% off by visiting twc.health/CDM. Use promo code CDM and move freely again with TheraBlue. I also want to point out mypillow.com. Love the mattress topper. If you're looking for that gift, it's a few $100, but if you need something for that person who has everything, get them the mattress topper by mypillow.com. Use promo code CDM. You'll get the best discounts. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow. We got a bang-up show tomorrow. Let me just look and see who's on tomorrow. I think it's Commander Salamander and BKP out of Georgia. BKP is always a hoot. And you need to know what's going on in Georgia. It's getting worse. If it could get any worse than a $140 million Ponzi scheme, and the people that ran the scheme are still in charge, still inside on the Georgia GOP Financial Advisory Committee, but it gets worse. So join us tomorrow. We're going to have a Pacific sit rep on what's going on with the U.S. Navy with the Commander Salamander, very knowledgeable individual. We're on podcast anywhere. We're on Gettr, X. We're on Rumble. We load the show on YouTube. Check us out on cdm.press daily. We are a network. We are a wire service from all over the world. We're not just reading Telegram. We're up all night curating stories from our reporters everywhere across our 13 websites. Sign up for our no-ad subscriptions. We'll see you next time. Thanks again today, and really appreciate you joining us. Take care.